how do you stay safe when you're out on a hike? A lot of people don't think about this at all. They think, all right, it's a trail, it's established, it's safe for me, I guess, and they just go without really planning much. That's not a good idea. Again, it might seem safe, but it might not be. Now, I'm not saying the main dangers here are lions and tigers and bears, because it's probably not. Actually, bear attacks are quite rare, especially fatal bear attacks, to be specific, in the United States. The main dangers are usually imposed upon oneself. There's a pretty recent example of, I believe, 2 women who just pretty much died when they were out hiking in the summer heat of Nevada because they didn't bring any water. If they had brought water, they would still be alive. So that's just one example. So I'm going to give you the rundown of how you can not die when going on a simple hike. And I'm going to start with the most obvious, which surprisingly a lot of people do not do, which is bring water. Bring some snacks. Some water. Of which this is not a good example because it's almost empty. But water is the most essential thing you need when you're out on a hike, because obviously when you're hiking, it's very rigorous physical exercise. So you're going to be sweating, you're going to be dehydrating faster than you would sitting at your computer. So you need to stay hydrated. It doesn't have to be straight water. A lot of more professional hikers like to add electrolytes to their water or bring, something more unique, more tasty. But water is always a good choice because it's very easy to get. And just taking a few sips of water throughout your hike, especially very long hikes, will definitely keep you in good shape. And I also recommend bringing some snacks. A lot of hikers like to bring sandwiches, sometimes called summit sandwiches, because I guess you eat them at the very top of wherever you're going. But if you don't want a sandwich, you could bring granola bars, you could bring granola that's not in the shape of a bar, you can bring nuts and fruits, basically whatever you want. But the point is, bring something to munch on so you don't accidentally starve to death when you're out on the trail. And this is even more important when you're going miles and miles on your hike, because obviously a quarter-mile hike, you're probably not gonna just drop dead. But if you're going 8 miles for the whole day and then maybe 8 miles back, that's a different story. Then, besides the food and water scenario, you also should be familiar with the hike you're going on, plan your trip. So, in one of my previous videos I mentioned that there are many different types of trails for many hikers of different experience levels. If you've never gone on a trail before, you probably shouldn't try to take on the Klondike, the Chilkoot Pass of Alaska or Canada. You gotta start simple. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to go on a boring hike, but it should match your skill level. And then obviously, as you level up, in a sense, you can continue going to more advanced, more interesting hikes. And really, your skill level isn't just how fit you are, because a lot of people think, oh, I'll just get in better shape and I can take on this bigger, more exciting hike. But really, experience for hiking is about knowing what's safe, knowing what time to go, the season, who you're going with, the gear that you take with you. So it's stuff that you learn along the way and not just your fitness level. The next thing to keep you safe out in the wilderness is take some good reliable stuff with you, your gear. So I always think that a tiny first aid kit is a nice thing to bring with you, especially if you're hiking alone. Because obviously if you're hiking alone and you're really outside of the nearest city's limits, your phone might not work, you might not have a real way to communicate with anybody if you happen to get hurt. And you might be thinking, well, I'm not going to get hurt on the trail, I'm just going to walk a little ways. But you can get hurt quite easily when you're out there. You could easily trip over a rock, tumble down, the nearest slope. You might encounter a wild animal that's not too happy with you. So if you get hurt, especially seriously hurt, a first aid kit can help you quite a lot. Usually it has bandages, disinfectant, creams, or alcoholic liquids to help you. So it's a good thing to bring it with you. Usually they're pretty small that you can just pack it into your backpack. And besides that, you also want to make sure your gear is in good shape. You know, you don't want to go out with 45-year-old hiking gear and boots that are falling apart, or no boots at all if you go hiking in sandals. Not a great idea. A lot of people do that, but especially sandals that, you know, the whole foot is basically exposed. You could get thorns. I've heard of people who they're walking along and they kick a splinter and it goes right up through their big toenail, and basically your toenail falls off. But it's best to have closed-toe shoes. Boots aren't always necessary. Those big, heavy hiking boots, those are better for, you know, if you're going into the snow or if it's really muddy or you're doing some serious rock climbing sort of stuff. I recommend at least a good pair of solid sneakers, you know, good cushioning, good fit, hold your foot, and you're not going to get any splinters up your toenails. So your shoes obviously are a big part, along with the socks. You know, make sure you have some nice good socks, not cotton, because that will turn into mush as soon as you start sweating. And your backpack, obviously, make sure you don't take a backpack that's twice your whole body size. Try to get a nice backpack that has just enough room for you to put everything you need in it, so you won't be lugging around this big heavy thing. Then, besides that, of course, everything you put into your backpack. I mean, if it's a short hike, you won't need to put in too much. Again, maybe your snacks, your water, your first aid kit. But longer hikes, especially overnight hikes or through hikes, you're going to need a lot more stuff. You're going to need your sleeping bag, your tent, and maybe flashlight, a headlight, maybe camera equipment. You'll have to bring a lot more stuff. So of course it's going to be heavier, but you know, again, try not to take too much. Just take what's necessary because it'll help you in the long run. You'll be thanking yourself because you won't have to carry this big heavy thing on your back. And that, along with the previous things that I've already said, those are the main components of staying safe on your hike. There's one more. If you're in bear country, you do have to be a little bit more careful. Now, obviously there's two main types of bears here in the United States. There's the black bear, the American black bear, and then the grizzly bear. Now the grizzly bear, if you're on the East Coast, you're not going to encounter the grizzly bear. Good for you. They call it the grizzly bear because it's terrible. It's grisly. It's super aggressive. Black bears, not so much. They can still be dangerous, but they usually will not really bother you that much. They'll kind of stick to their own unless you bother them, which is why you have to stay on your own side of things. If you do encounter a bear of any kind, you should have some bear spray on you. It kind of looks like a canister, like a bug spray canister. And you can just spray it, kind of like pepper spray. And that should keep the bear away from you, because it's pretty painful once it gets in the bear's eyes, so they'll just kind of go away from you. But yeah, anywhere in bear country, it's a good idea to carry some bear spray with you, just so you can have that extra bit of safety, and you won't have to consistently worry if a bear might show up out of the woods. Another good trick regarding bear safety is a lot of hikers enjoy either talking out loud or singing something, because making noise will usually deter bears away from humans. So that's pretty much the whole shebang with hiking safety. If you think this video was informative, or if you just liked it, of course you can leave a like and perhaps even subscribe. And I make videos a few times throughout the week, so you could stick around for those.